So the first note of that song got played in 2006. Then a note changed in 2008. Then another note in, and so on and so on. And I want to share to you that the schedule of that composition and how it's going on. So John Cage, here it is. So can you see the screen?
Yeah.
So the first pause, P means pause, started in 2001 and went on till 2003, and so on and so forth. And they changed one or two notes every few months and few years. The last note change happened in 2013, 7 years ago. The next note change is coming up on the 5th of September 2020. So in fact, we are all going to join that. So currently this is the note that is playing over there. Can you hear?
Yep.
This is live from Halberstadt, Germany. This is the note playing on that organ right now. And here is part of the music which is currently playing. You can see this. So this will go on till 5th of September, when they will be changing the note according to this. And then the next one will be in 2022, and so on and so on. And the last song, the last note will be played in the year 2640.
And so what limited it to that? What limited this?
Okay, so they just decided arbitrarily on 620 years. This particular church where they are playing this was built exactly 640 years ago when they started in 2001. So they chose 640 as that number, and they said, okay, the church has been around for 640 years. We are going to make sure not only it's around, we're going to play this song for 640 years. So anyway, so we are planning to be there present live when they're transmitting from this. This is the church, and that's the picture of the organ. We'll be there when this happens, when the note changes from what's going on right now to the next one. So yeah. So moving.
Where is this church?
It's in Halberstadt, Germany. Halberstadt, Germany. And they are looking for donations. They want people to donate to a particular year and so on and so forth. And you can have a placard there, and they'll put your name and your quote and whatever you want, because this has to be sustained. I mean, imagine the peripheral infrastructure that needs to be in place for sustaining a project for 640 years. I mean, it's a unheard of monumental project that has never been undertaken, and this is kind of exploring the limits of music. So moving on to what I wanted to share today is about notes and frequencies. Okay, so again, let me share this. All right, so we got a lot of things I wanted to cover. So so I want to have us all appreciate what music fundamentally is, and what does it take for us to create music. So any July or August birthdays? Raise your hand. July birthday, August birthday. Yeah, July and August. Fantastic. हाँ, Mundra family में Geetanjali, Lakshmi Ma, oh Nalini Ma, okay, Nalini ji, okay, great. So a couple of July and August birthdays. So here's what we are going to do. This is not a formal anything, but so unmute yourself and we are all going to, on my cue, sing happy birthday to you together. Okay? She said. So, okay, everybody unmute. Let's see. There may be a little chaos, but we'll go. So, we are singing to Nalini ji and Azadi Ben, Nikki, Ved, and hi Kokimasi and Gitanjali. Okay, right, Gitanjali. Okay, so here are the July. It's also Karishma, my daughter Karishma's birthday on the 9th. So here we go. Everybody can hear me? Yes, so we are going to sing happy birthday together, okay? So here we go. One, and let me give you the I want to give you the pitch or the note on which we are going to sing together, okay? So now this is one of the most common issues that non-singers have about singing is the pitch, okay? So I want to just share a little bit about what pitch is. What is a pitch? So, and this is where a lot of people, you know, go off track and don't know what to do and how to do and all that. So I want to just play this. It's a, this note is the C4, which is a sa. Let's say we are going to call it a sa. Sa. So this is the, can you hear this or is it too soft? Can you hear the tone?
Yes.
Okay. Right, correct, you're right. So now pitch means singing from this particular pitch. So if I want to sing happy birthday to you, if I'm singing off pitch, how will it sound? The pitch is and I go happy birthday to you, I'm off pitch. So the pitch is right. So happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday, all the July and August birthdays. Happy birthday to you. So Nagarajan ji, I want to be able to see your videos, guys, because I want to see what's happening. So because did everyone sing? I want to know if everyone sang, because this, by the way, happy birthday to you happens to be the world's most famous and well-known song in the world. There is no other song in the entire planet which is more widely known than happy birthday to you. Not only that, it is also the highest grossing revenue song in the world. This song, not beaten by Michael Jackson, not this, not that, not the other. It's happy birthday to you, because it is composed by someone who owns the rights and the patents to this song, and that family has been raking it in from all over the world because of this one song and one tune. Any movie, wherever they sing it, they have to give a little bit to this particular composer. So it's the highest grossing song. So that's an aside. But what I wanted you to appreciate, okay, are you seeing the screen?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay,
Yes.
so right, so most people know, everybody knows Sa Re Ga Ma Pa Dha Ni Sa, right? So this is that C4 that we are talking about. C4 or Sa is number 1. Then if you just go in this line, it goes Sa Re Ga Ma Pa Dha Ni Sa. That's Sa Re Ga Ma Pa Dha Ni Sa. Okay, everyone clear on this? It's very simple. So these are known as, this is the scale. It's called the major scale in Western music. It's called Bilawal in the Hindustani system. And Sesh may know what it's called in Karnataka also. but this is the major scale. So C major is the scale in which Happy Birthday to You is sung, which means what? Which means that all the notes in Happy Birthday to You will be one of these 8 notes. That's what Happy Birthday to You being in this scale means. Okay. So the Happy Birthday song goes like this. Sa sa re re sa ma ga. That's, I'm only going to do this one line for now. Sa sa re sa ma ga. That's what Happy Birthday to You is. Simple. Sa sa re sa ma ga. Right. If you start from sa. Okay. Now, what happens is, wait, where is that file? So here is what the frequency chart looks like for this sa re ga ma pa. So here you go, sa re ga ma pa dha ni sa. Like we saw before in that beats transforming into rhythm, the frequency at which the rhythm became a beat, rhythm became a note, was right around 15,000 BPM, which is right around 261.63 cycles per second, which is the note C4, which is also the note sa as per Indian music. So in the Western system, if you actually, before I go into the systems, so sa or C starts with sa and goes all the way to the next sa. And what is the interesting thing about between one sa and the next sa is that the frequency is exactly double. So this is 261.6 and this becomes 523.26, which is double. So from sa to sa you double frequency, and the human ear recognizes that as the same note. That's just how we are made. We are naturally able to know that now we are back to where we started. So if I say sa re ga ma pa da ni sa, so sa that's the. So Pratibha Ben, please be on mute, Pratibha Ben. So
Sanjeev, your screen is blank actually.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, thanks for telling me. Hold on. Yeah, if you can be on mute, hold on. So let me share again. Share the screen, share, here we go. Okay, now are you able to see?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. So, okay, so let me retrack a little bit. So from sa all the way to the next sa. So you go sa re ga ma pa da ni sa. So if this sa is at a frequency 261.63, the next sa is at exactly twice that frequency. So if you take a string and vibrate the string, if you reduce the length by make it half the length, then that upper frequency will be heard. So naturally the human ear is able to understand that the pitch has gone double, and it recognizes it as the same sa as when you started. So between these two intervals, so right, 261 to 523, which is again a change in frequency of 261 cycles per second, we needed to divide it into different steps. So the west and the east, actually, at least India, we divided into 12 steps. Now the west divides it by a very equidistant formula. So the ratio between the first step and the second step is a particular ratio, and the same ratio going from second to third, the same ratio going from third to fourth, fifth, and guys, please be on mute. So um, so it's an equidistant. It's an equidistant. So from sa to sa is split into 12 different steps. So going from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then you're back to the upper sa again, or C. So the 12 steps are divided into equal ratios. So it goes, so you multiply the first frequency by this magic number, which is nothing but dividing, taking the 12th root of 2,
Yeah.
and you end up with this number which will take you equidistant wise to twice the frequency. So you go 12 steps in a root 12 process and you'll end up with double. So this is the way the Western system is the notes are split up. Now the Indian system had a different idea, and what they said is, rather than dividing it equally, we want to divide it in as per a natural half, and then a fourth and a eighth, and so on. So what they said is, we are going to, to go from sa to pa, which is halfway up, we want the ratio to be exactly 1.5. So here you see in Western is 1.498, in Eastern is 1.5, and then so on and so forth, and then between sa and pa you want it again to be exactly half. So they said we want it to be 1.25, whereas Western, because of their square root system, they went to 1.2599, which is slightly higher. So this is what, and here's the reason I'm bringing this up. Okay, the reason I want to bring this up is, let me actually stop share so I can see you guys. There's a very important reason why I wanted to bring this to your notice, is that simple tune, the very first line that we all sang, happy birthday to you, right? Yeah, sa sa re sa ma ga. Okay, we just sing it naturally, we just sing it. How many of you thought that I have to go from happy birth sa sa re? Now re, that means it's 2 steps up, which means I have to take the 6th square root of 2, multiply the frequency of sa by the 6th square root of 2, and end up at re. How many of you thought this in your mind? Nagarajan ji, where are you? Nagarajan ji is a mathematician, so particularly I want to ask him. Did you, when you said happy birth, just that, happy birth, did you say happy is at 261.63, multiply this by 6 over 12th root of 2, which means 1.12, multiply that, you end up with 2.79. So now my happy birth is going to be at 2.77 cycles per second. Did you think this?
No, I'll be paralyzed if I thought.
Sorry?
I'll be paralyzed thinking if that is
Absolutely, it's impossible. It's impossible. And so just to drive home that point, let me share what you guys just did when you sang one line, happy birthday to you. What did you do? Right, so happy is CC, birthday is DC, or sa sa re sa ma ga. You went from 261.63, you went to 293.66, then you went to 349.23, then you went to 329.63, and then back to 261.63. That was the whole journey, and it involved this extremely complex calculation, division, multiplication before you could sing even a single note of that happy birthday to you. What I want you all to get is how incredibly powerful you are. You are doing this like this, and this is one of the simplest songs in the world. Everybody knows this. You ask a 4-year-old kid, they sing happy birthday to you, and they are doing it. 1 multiplied by 6th root of 12. I mean, come on. So this kind of power is what each one of us has. I mean, how is this any less than a superpower? We are all super beings pretending to be this little creature who I can't do anything. Guys, you can sing much more complex songs in complex rhythms and complex beats compared to this. And you do it just like this. So the message I want to give you is the Shakti that you are, the divine power that you are. Don't belittle yourself. Don't sell yourself short. You are unbelievably powerful. And it's not just music. You take physics. I play tennis, before lockdown every single day. If I had to think what is the velocity of that ball, what is the weight of that ball, what is the weight of this racket, how much angle I have to swing back, and when will I strike it, what should be my angle of the approach to the ball. If I had to logically think all that, the game would be over before I can even hit one shot. But I continuously over and over, in an hour and a half, I'm hitting 300 shots without even blinking an eye. So that's really what I wanted to bring to you, is how incredibly powerful you are. So start living like the God, the divine that you are. Stop pretending just poor me, and start living as the truly unbelievably superpower that you are. You don't need any more evidence than this. You just do this calculation like this and it's nothing for you. This Shakuntala Devi movie has been making the rounds since yesterday, and it is just this right brain calculation which does not depend on logic, and the answer is just there naturally. And it's just that she has developed that particular aspect much more than most of us. But that's all there was to it. Now, just as a small side, the Indian system, not that this is anything, comparing or saying Indian is better or more powerful than Western or anything, but the Indian system, it's not just split into 12, it's actually split into 22 different steps make up. So what you see in Indian system is there are notes which are in between the notes that are on the piano. In fact, between the Komal Rishabh and the Shuddha Rishabh, there are 2 other Rishabhs which we didn't even know about normally. And what's happened is we've gone so much in the Western system because it's more convenient that we generally more or less ignore these notes these days. But they are there, and people who are really the masters, my Guruji's Guru, and I want to talk about him also a little bit. They can really touch these finer notes even today. So, of course, Western classical music has its own other powers which Indian classical doesn't have. They are very much more advanced in terms of harmonies, in terms of combining notes and structures together and making extremely complex patterns which we don't. But our melody is much more pronounced, their harmony is much more pronounced. So one is, both have their pluses and minuses. But all in all, music is just this magical thing. If we ever need an evidence that we are gods walking on this planet, then music is it. You and I are all that. We are that. And this is an opportunity to wake up to that. Any moment we are free to wake up to that. So moving on. So I want to talk about this thing called scales. In Western music there's something called scales, and in Indian music we have something called ragas. So now you're seeing this cursor, right? Can you see my cursor?
Yep.
Yeah. So this major scale, as I showed you, is just going from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in these steps. And there are all these other notes in the black keys which are being ignored. So if I choose another set of notes instead of the standard straight line, I end up with a different set of notes and a different scale in Western music. So this particular scale, which goes C, D, E flat, F, G, G sharp, A sharp, and C, is called the natural minor scale. It's called the natural minor scale. So the natural minor scale in Indian classical music is the rag Darbari. One of the rags in this minor scale is Darbari. And let me just so the fun part or the complexity of Indian classical music versus Western is that Western music just says, okay, you take these notes, don't touch these other notes, and you can compose a tune using these notes, and you will be playing the natural harmonic scale, and any triads or chords that you use will be in that same scale. What Indian raga says is it's not enough to just say which scale, what notes to use. It also gets into how to use these notes. And and what are there are a whole set of rules for every single raga in terms of what notes you can choose and so on. So here's a very brief summary of this Darbari Kannada, which happens to be my favorite, my mom's favorite. I think everybody who has heard Darbari will love it. So additional rules that come in. So what they say is that there are Vadi and Samvadi means dominant notes. So in the Western music, only the first note is the dominant note and there is no subdominant. Whereas in Darbari we say with these two notes, Rishabh means Re and Pancha means Pa. They are both need to be more emphasized when you sing songs in this composition. It also says Darbari you should sing in the third prahar, the third 3-hour segment of 3-hour segment of the night. There are 8 Ashtaprahars, so 3-hour segment of the night. The third 3-hour segment is when you should sing Darbari. It comes around kind of towards midnight. It also says what is the sequence in which you will sing these notes. So this happens to be pretty straightforward, but yet there is a little difference going up and coming down. So if you this particular Aro Avro is Sa Re Ga Ma Pa Dha Ni Sa Sa Dha Ni Pa Ma Pa Ga Ma Re Sa. So you can't just go Sa Re Ga Ma Pa Dha Ni Sa Sa Ni Dha Pa Ma Ga Re Sa in Indian Darbari Rag. So the third prahar, and there are particular phrases which are very typical to Darbari. So let me just I'll demo this Rag Darbari just for a minute. Sa Ni Sa Re Ga Dha Ni Pa Kalo Ashbo Bahati Saptarashmini Sahasraksho Ajaru Bhuri Retaha Tamam Rohanti Kavayo Vipashitaha Tasa Chakra Bhuvanani Vishwa. So couple of things that you'll notice about this. Sa Re Ga It's called Andolan. So it doesn't just go on ga and stop there. It goes gare 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 sare ga, and same thing on dha. It sare ga ma pa dha dha pa dha pa. So these are part of these very very subtle rules that are applicable to the rendition, correct rendition of Darbari Rag. So so Indian music, classical music, started with this, not Darbari but this other rag called Bairagi. Okay, so Bairagi has another set of notes and another set of rules. So Bairagi goes, now Bairagi Bhairav, this is called Bairagi Bhairav, and it goes, it use minimum number of notes. It, instead of using all 7 or more notes, Bairagi only uses 5 notes, sa, re, ma, pa and ni, that's it. So it's a rag of minimalism, and it also happens to be the rag in which the Vedas and all the Vedic chants happen in this Bairagi rag. So it goes Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Sa re ma pa ni sa, sa ni pa ma re ni re sa, ni sa re sa ni sa re, ni sa re sa ni sa re sa. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata. So all the chants, all the Vedic chants happen in this Bairagi rag. Okay. So what is so special to notice about this particular rag is that it only uses 5 notes. So guys, what does the word Bairagi mean? Bairagi comes from what word?
Vairagya, right?
Huh, Bhavin?
Renounce.
Renounce. Bairagi is about renunciation. It's about Vairagya. So Vairagya is renouncing, giving up, living on and being happy with less and less and less, which is what this coronavirus incidentally is teaching us all. I mean, how many of you have noticed that you can really be happy with a lot less than you thought you before corona? Yes or no? Everyone. I think it's a universal experience. We all have realized that we can really be happy with a lot less than we thought. So Vairagya is exactly that, is being happy with less. So this rag Vairagi Bhairav rag actually takes that concept and applies it to the music, to the formation and the creation of this first primordial rag. This Bairagi Bhairav is called the primordial raga because it is the primordial chant. It is a natural sound that came to the rishis when they wanted to put composition to Vedas, and Vairagya was their way of life. So how does it reflect in the raga? The raga uses only 5 notes, and that too sparingly. The whole chant is ni sa re sa ni sa re, ni sa re sa ni sa re sa. Done. I have 5 notes, but I'm not even using 5. Ni, sa and re, and I'm done with the entire composition. Imagine this. So Vairagya is encapsulated and captured in Rag Bairagi as an inherent property of that raga itself. How beautiful is that? So you know, the point is the thought process and the understanding, that the level of understanding that has gone into music. So this is the first raga. Anyone knows what is the last raga in Hindustani classical music? What is the last raga? Sesh knows. Sesh is a musician, so he's a singer. Sesh, go ahead.
Rag Malhar.
No, Malhar is not the last. What is the last song that we always sing at any mehfil, Sesh?
Bhairavi.
Exactly. It's Bhairavi. Bhairavi is the last rag. So now imagine the consistency and the beauty of how this is put together. So you start with Bairagi, which is all about renunciation, and it's Bairagi Bhairav. Bhairav is, what kind of energy is Bhairav? Is it a male energy, masculine energy, or a feminine energy?
Masculine.
Masculine. Bhairav is masculine. Yeah. Nad Bhairav we say. Bhairav is Shankar, Shiva. It's a masculine energy. Tandav. Exactly. So Bhairav, Nad Bhairav. So Bairagi Bhairav starts with this masculine energy of renunciation, and all the way at the other end of the spectrum. So what in real life, or we are all, a lot of us are into spirituality and all that. I mean, everyone is, whether you said it in your intro or not, everyone is a spiritual being. Okay, take it from me. We are all looking for happiness, and if you are looking for happiness, that is the same as being spiritual. And there's nobody who is not looking for happiness. So the simplest definition of spirituality is a person who is looking for happiness. So who does it exclude? I don't think anybody. So we are all spiritual beings. So my question to you is, I forgot the question.
Talking about the first and the last raga.
Yeah, the first and the last rag. So we begin our journey into spirituality with renunciation, with learning how to be okay with less and less. What is the other end of the spectrum as far as spirituality is concerned? What is the other end of the spectrum? If renunciation is one cornerstone of spirituality, what is the other end of spirituality? Lakshmi Ma, you are on mute.
Abundance.
Abundance, absolutely. Abundance. Aishwarya. Vairagya on one end, Aishwarya on the other end. And between those two is the whole game called life. And if you are able to have both, inner Vairagya, that means you are able to be okay with nothing and less and less and less. Enjoy Rag, Bairagi, Bhairav, and at the same time able to hold the other extreme of the spectrum, celebration, then that is really the where the whole, where the gold is. If you are stuck on one or the other, you miss the boat. You may, if you are only a renunciate, you sit in the life, this beauty called trees and children and birds and beauty and art and music and so many wonderful things that are manifest. You may be of bliss sitting in your cave and enjoying yourself. I'm not saying no to that. It's fine. But you're missing something. And the other end of the spectrum also you miss something. The other end of the spectrum is celebration. Only celebration. I want this party, I want this Jaguar, I want something else, I want more. On this and that, only then I can celebrate. Only then I can celebrate. Only then I can celebrate. And you have no clue that really who you are doesn't need anything. Not in that. And you get caught up in this on the other end of the spectrum of running after more and more and more and more. Again, you've missed the boat. But if you are able to be in Bairagi Bhairav. Now let's look at Bhairavi. Okay, Bhairavi is very interesting. Rag Bhairavi, guess how many notes it uses. So Bairagi used only 3 or 4 notes, 5 notes, pentatonic. Bhairavi, how many notes? Take a guess. Lop. Ah, good. Who else? So I had put up the thing, but in the strict rules of Bhairavi. Okay, Bhairavi, there is also another interesting story to Bhairavi. Bhairavi is never taught by any guru who knows what they are doing. No guru will ever teach you Rag Bhairavi. Okay, no guru in the world who knows his stuff will ever teach a student Rag Bhairavi. Interesting. Why?
Probably comes to you naturally, I suspect.
Okay, that's one possible answer. What else?
Means it's the end.
Exactly. It means the end. It's the end. It's the last. It's the last. It's the end. It's the finale. It would signal the end of the Guru Shishya relationship if the Guru taught you Bhairavi. And that's second. The third is that you want to be always in the student mode. You need to be, just like anything in life, you want music also to be an ever flowing, ever learning, always something more phenomenon. If you learn this last Raga Bhairavi, okay, it's all over now. Now what do we do? So to keep it open-ended, Bhairavi is never taught. Bhairavi you learn on your own, which goes back to what you said, Pankaj, which is that it comes naturally. Now that you've learned everything from Bairagi to Bhairav to Malhar and everything in between, Bhairavi should come to you on its own. You should be able to learn it on your own. Another interesting thing. So how many notes in Bhairavi, you think? There are 7 notes, right? In all ragas there are maximum 7 notes. So how many notes in Bhairavi? Take a guess.
All 7.
All 7. Good job, Rujuta. All 7. But here's the interesting thing. Bhairavi, just like what true celebration is, does not impose even this rule on the performer of 7 notes. Bhairavi is the only rag in the entire Hindustani system where any of the 12 notes are allowed. You can sing any note out of the 12 and it is still okay. You're not out of the rag. So that gives it that very special quality of abandon, the quality of celebration. You know, just like in a party, you know, at some point you let go of all the formal rules and all the, you know, everything that you came as a formally dressed person to the party. At some point you drop all that, right? You let your hair down. And that is Bhairavi. You let your hair down and you're allowed to sing any note in the 12. And in fact, any of the 22 notes that are there in Hindustani, you are allowed to sing. And of course, your composition has to make sense, and that's all part of it. But the point is, just I want everyone to notice and appreciate how beautifully this whole construction has been created in the Hindustani classical system. And I suspect it is similar in Karnataka also, because ultimately they were both the same, and then for very minor reasons they split into 2. But so going from Vairagya to Aishwarya, 5 notes to 12 notes, from renunciation to celebration. And the message in this, of course, is not just about music, it's about life, as I was saying earlier. The message in that Indian classical music is to be able to sing Bairagi in your life and also sing Bhairavi in your life. If you can sing both of them, then you are really tasting the nectar and living in that space of bliss that we are all striving for. So What time is it? 9:30. What did we say? Okay.
31. 1 hour
9:31.
has gone by.
Yeah, so okay, good. I'm doing better time than I thought. So we'll end at 10.
Sanjeev, I'll have to take your leave.
Yeah, that's fine, Pankaj.
Can you send some examples of the sort of the popular songs that are in both in the two different rags that you talked about?
Yeah, sure. And as you can guess, most of the songs that we are familiar with are Bollywood popular songs, right? And as you can guess, given that it's Bollywood, which rag do you think will be more common, Bairagi, Bhairav or Bhairavi?
Obviously, Bhairavi.
Obviously Bhairavi. So you'll hear lot of compositions in this one. You'll hardly hear one or two compositions in Bairagi Bhairav. There are like maybe one or two. There are lots of classical compositions, and even there are not a lot actually. There are very few compared to the other ragas.
How about
But-
bhajans? Are there any bhajans that are in Bhairavi?
Yeah, not bhajans even. The chanting, all the chants are in Bairagi.
Yeah.
So there are a few compositions, but lots and lots in Bhairavi. So I'll send you guys a list on the WhatsApp group, and also whatever you are going to miss, this is getting recorded, so it will be on YouTube, so you can watch the rest of it at a later point, Pankaj.
Thanks a
So
lot.
thank you. Look forward to seeing you again, and we'll talk.
We will. Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye. So, okay, are you seeing the screen or did I stop sharing? Okay.
He hurt me.
Okay, now you can see the screen?
No.
No, not yet. Okay.
Now we change to Madhyama Pranayama.
Okay, Lakshmi, if you can be on mute. Okay, so
Shown
Bairagi, Bhairav, Bhairavi, and this too. So Bhairavi actually has a lot of other interesting stories behind it. So one, as you rightly guessed, Bairagi is the Nath Bhairav, it is the masculine energy, the male Shiva. So Bhairavi appropriately named with the Bhairavi, which obviously implies a what energy? Feminine energy, right? So it's the Shiva and Shakti, Shiv and Shakti coming together and forming the two, holding the two ends of the spectrum is what the whole classical music and then the eventual merger of the two is what the whole game is about. So Bhairavi, like I told you, one of the aspects is that it is not taught. The other is that it is a very, very, very beautiful rag, and it's full freedom, full, anything goes kind of a raga, and so powerful that my Guruji who taught me music used to visit the US when I used to live there, and so he would have concerts on the weekends, but then all the weekdays he would live with us. So I got a chance to really, spend lots and lots of time with him, and he would tell us all these stories. So my Guruji, his name is Pandit Havaldar, Nagraj Rao Havaldar, Dr. Nagraj Rao Havaldar, and his Guruji is Madhav Gudi and Pandit Bhimsen Joshi, going all the way to Abdul Karim Khan, who is the doyen of the Kirana Gharana. Right, Gharana is a whole different topic. Maybe we'll talk about it some other time. But even for a given rag, with the same rules, that same rag with all its nuances can be sung in different styles. And those styles of gaiki, those styles is what makes that particular gharana, the group of musicians who like a particular style of singing. So whether you're rhythm focused, or you are more melody focused, or you're more slides and gamakas and all this, so very nuances of classical music. But Kirana Gharana comes from him. So he once shared this story about Rag Bhairavi. He shared a couple of stories actually, so I'm going to share two of them. So Pandit Bhimsen Joshi, who is my Guruji's guru, you know, he's Padma Shri and all this great honors that he has got over the years. And but how many of you know that he was, how fast his gamaks are, right? The way he goes from, you know, sa to sa and back, and and even, I mean, this is like snail pace compared to the gamaks that he has, right? And super fast. You can't even imagine how quickly and precisely he would go. So one of the interesting things about that characteristic was that it carried over into his real life also. This speed, this challenge and thrill of speed carried over into his real life, and he was very fond of driving cars, and not just driving cars, but driving an ambassador, and not just driving the ambassador, but driving that ambassador to its limits. He would drive extremely fast, so fast that anyone who was riding with him would have to shut their eyes. He was that fast, and that really, you know, rash about his driving. Loved to drive. So anywhere he went in India, he would drive. No trains, never a train, he would drive. No matter he had to give a concert in Kanyakumari or Kashmir, he would take out his ambassador, load up his tanpura, load up his musicians, and off they go in a couple of cars. So one such trip, they were about to cross a very dangerous section of Bihar in the Chambal Valley to going towards Calcutta. And it was getting late in the evening, and people told him that, listen, you know, it's not a good idea to go through Chambal after dark. Just don't do it. You can't do it. You better just wait till the morning and then go. Then continue on the trip. And you know, given his, you know, the way his heart and mind paced, is that nothing doing, we are going. So off they went into the Chambal Valley. In the darkness is falling, night is falling, and they are entering this heavy forest area, which is completely, you know, overrun, especially during those days, by gangs of dacoits. So they went in for about 2 hours, and at right around 10:30 or so at night, you know, they suddenly see this huge tree has fallen in the middle of the road, and there's no way you could bypass the tree and go. So they had to stop. So they stopped, and as you can guess, this gang showed up and of course threatened them, and, you know, show us what you have, you know, give us everything you got, all your money, all your jewelry, watches, whatever. Mobile phone us zamane mein nahi the, but give us everything, that's it. And nothing doing, you know, and you know, Bhimsen Joshi Pandit Ji was a very tall, hefty, strong guy, but he knew that there's no, you know, fighting or fooling around with these guys with the guns. So they opened the trunks and they started seeing whatever is there, and the chief dacoit saw this tanpura that was there in the back of the trunk. Then he looked back at him, at Pandit Ji, and he says, "Oh, aap Pandit Bhimsen Ji hai." So he says, I've been living in these jungles ever since I was hardly a teenager. And here in this valley, we hardly hear any music. There are no radio signals. We don't have radios also. There are no batteries. It's been ages since I've heard music. So you please forget all this. You please, you and your musicians, please sing for us. And he said, मैं जब 7 साल का था मैंने आपको सुना था, मुझे वो ही गीत सुनना है. And Pandit ji says, sure, why not? कौन सा गीत है? And he said it was जो भजे हरि को सदा. Okay, this is one of Pandit ji's very favorite songs. And he said, मुझे जो भजे हरि को सदा आप सुनाइए. And of course, Pandit ji was more than happy to, to sing. And लगाया तानपुरा, चलो बैठ जाओ सारे. And it's in the middle of the forest. There's nowhere to go anyway. And Pandit ji sang जो भजे हरि को सदा. You should check out this song by him, by Pandit ji. It's there on YouTube. After this, go check it out. Pandit Bhimsen Joshi, जो भजे हरि को सदा. यशवंत सुनाइए जो भजे. Yashwant, you heard?
Yes, sir.
Okay, right. So मराठी में है, तो हिंदी में है, लेकिन धारवाड़ रीजन जो महाराष्ट्र के बॉर्डर में बहुत फेमस है. Anyway, so he sang this song for this खूनी, renowned, most cruel, most dangerous dacoit of Chambal Valley. And guess which rag जो भजे हरि को सदा is in?
Vairagya. Vairagi.
Bhairavi.
It's in Bhairavi. Celebration. This guy had been dying for, imagine you're a dacoit, since 20 years you're in the jungle. You are dying to just be joyful, dying to celebrate. And this Bhairavi rag just simply, brought that joy to him. And it was one of his, he loved his own performance, and he shared this story, of course, with his students later on. So, and of course, you can guess the rest of the story, what happened. Do you think this this dacoit would have taken their money and watches? No way. No way. No way, of course not. He was so full of joy with this music and with this rag. Not only, of course, he did not take anything. He apologized profusely for delaying Pandit ji and asked for his forgiveness. Not only that, guess what else he did? Of course, his men, all this gang, they removed the tree and cleared the road for him. That, of course, they did.
હૃદય પરિવર્તન થઈ ગયું.
हृदय परिवर्तन થઈ ગયું, exactly. And what else he did was, पंडित जी ये चंबल में आगे भी बहुत डाकू है, मैं अकेला नहीं हूं, अभी तो ये शुरुआत है जंगल की, आइए मैं आपके साथ चलता हूं.
રક્ષક બની ગયો એમનો.
Exactly.
રક્ષક.
मैं आपके साथ चलता हूं और आपको ये जंगल खत्म होने तक मैं आपके साथ रह के आपको छोड़ता हूं. This is the power of music. This is the power of Bhairavi. This is the power of celebration. This is the power of transformation. So, one more story about Bhairavi. So, Abdul Karim Khan, who is Pandit Ji's Guruji, in the early 1900s, he was very, very well known, Abdul Karim Khan. And some of his recordings are still there, and you can hear him also on YouTube. So check out Abdul Karim Khan. And while you are at it, check out his disciple, which is Pandit Bhimsen Joshi. And while you are at it, check out his disciple, who is my Guruji, who is actually his disciple is Pandit Madhav Gudi. You will find his songs also, his compositions and his performance. And while you are at it, listen to his Shishya, who is Pandit Nagaraj Rao Havaldar, and you will see a lot of his performances on YouTube. And while you are at it, also listen to his Shishya, who is who is also on YouTube, who has a few songs. So of course not the pure classical great stuff that they have. I have, simpler stuff, but you can check out the Shishya all the way, the entire parampara. But I'm nobody to really claim anything in that league. But anyway, so Abdul Karim Khan Saab, there's an interesting reason. How many of you know this region called Dharwad, which is on the border between Maharashtra and Karnataka? You heard of Dharwad? Yeah, you heard of Dharwad. So Dharwad has a disproportionately high number of great classical musicians. Disproportionately high. It's very interesting. Like one little village, and since centuries, Dharwad has been dominating the Indian classical scene, from Gangubai Hangal and Bhimsen Joshi ji and so many others who are from Dharwad region. And why did that happen? Can you guess? This story about Bhairavi is the seed of why Dharwad became a center of classical music in this whole region. And here's the story. So the Raja of Mysore at that time was a patron of arts. These artists used to live in the Gwalior and northern region, and there was a train that went from Gwalior to Mysore during those days. And so on one such journey, when Abdul Karim Khan Saab was going to was invited by Maharaja of Mysore to perform, and he was on his way with his entire entourage. This was before cars, and also he was traveling by train with his entourage. And so in the middle of the night at around 3 p.m. or so, 3 a.m., the station came, Dharwad or Hubli, one of those. They are all in the same region. Whatever was the node at that time, Hubli, Dharwad, their neighboring areas. So that station came, I think it was Hubli. And Hubli came, and of course they had a few hours more. It would have been late morning by the time they reached Bangalore and Mysore and all that. But 3 a.m., Abdul Karim Khan ji says, "Utariye sab, train mein se utar jao." And all his musician team is like, "Khan Saab, abhi to ye Hubli aaya, hame to Mysore jana hai." He said, "Nahi, aap suno mere ko, mujhe suniye aap, utar jaiye." And asked everyone to get off at that station. And reluctantly and mumbling and wondering what the heck is going on, they all got off. And they said, "आप उतरिए मत, आपका सामान और जो आपके सब है, तानपुरा, तबला, सब लेके उतरिए." And now they are even more confused. Now they said, "अभी तो ट्रेन भी चली जाएगी और अपना क्या होगा?" So they got off at the station, and Khan Saab says, बैठक लगाइए. सो धरी लगाई प्लेटफॉर्म पे धरी बिछाने को कहा 3 बजे सुबह के, और बोले कि लगाइए, तानपुरा लगाइए, तबला मिलाइए. और हम अभी, he was just in his, in a deep silence, and then he started to perform, started to sing. सुर लगाया, and of course as the tempo picked up, the tanpura was there, the tabla was there, of course the train has gone, the train has long gone. And he's singing and singing and singing, and he sang the performance of his life. And the next answer you will all know. Guess which rag he sang?
Bhairavi. Bhairavi.
Bhairavi, of course. Of course, he sang Bhairavi. He sang Bhairavi. He sang Bhairavi rag, which another characteristic of Bhairavi, which I'm sure Shesh knows. It is the last rag in any mehfil. After you sing Bhairavi, you traditionally do not sing any other song, because it is the ultimate raga. So you don't sing anything after that. It is the last rag. Khan Saab sang Bhairavi sang the last note and passed away right there on the platform. Passed away right on the platform in Hubli. It was his last message. It was his last offering. His last breath was with Bhairavi.
Hello.
So this is the, the tremendous power and beauty of Rag Bhairavi. So can you imagine the level of awareness, the level of consciousness, the level of, knowing that, hey, my end is near, I'm not going to reach my soul. Forget it. And being able to say, okay, it's time to sing Bhairavi and say goodbye. What happened then, of course, was the team that was accompanying him, the train has gone, the performance and the festival and whatever is out of the question now. Khan Sahib himself has passed away, and of course his samadhi was buried in Hubli. So all his entire team said, अभी हम खान साहब इधर है तो हम किधर जाएंगे, हम इधर ही रहेंगे. So that team settled in Dharwad. Now when that team settled in Dharwad, all their students who used to live wherever, Gwalior and this and that, they all heard, oh, these guys are all in Dharwad. So they all started flocking to Dharwad. And slowly Dharwad, even till today, is a very, very, very powerful center of music, all because of this Rag Bhairavi being performed on the platform at 3 a.m. So these are some of these gems that you only hear in the, you don't hear this in a 1 hour tuition with your music teacher, okay? You don't get this stuff. It doesn't happen. This happens in the wee hours of the morning when you are dead tired and you are so tired of playing and singing that the tanpura is lying on the bed and you are so exhausted, you are ready to sleep, but still so charged up with the music that you cannot still fall asleep. And in that semi-awake, semi-sleep state, the Guru shares these kind of stories with you. So these are the magical moments. And you know, he, of course, he has shared so many stories like this, which not just amaze and are mind boggling, but of course they've inspired me to go into music and learn more and more. So, so, um, so my, you know, the thought today was to share these little gems about music which you may not find in the books, may not find on YouTube, about Bhairavi. I mean, see, I was the teacher of music who taught me about Bairagi and Bairagi Bhairav and Bhairavi does not, it has not been with a spiritual guru like I have had the chance to be, like Rishi Prabhakar or others. So I found myself in a unique position that when I heard about Bairagi and Bhairavi from my music guru, and I heard about Vairagya and Aishwarya from Guruji, I'm like, wait a second, there's something here which is clicking. So, you know, so this was something I learned and put two and two together and thought, and I wanted to share it with all of you today. And so I want to let's see, we are almost we are almost there. So I want you to just share maybe for 5 minutes. You know, we'll Rujuta has something to share, I think. She already put it on the chat, but go ahead and unmute yourself and just share. I want to hear what you know got out of today's session and whatever. Yeah, go ahead.
The way you expressed that how music takes you, you know, like from absolute nothingness to an abundance. I've seen the troughs myself, and therefore I know what it really means. And I really appreciate the way you've shared it, and I look forward to more of it.
Great, thank you, wonderful. This is what is beautiful about this whole cafe. You know, the point I want to make is that each one of you has some unique talents, and I've read your intros. Each one of you knows something that the rest of us doesn't know. This is going to be the platform. It's not going to be always you know, Sanjeev ji talking and everyone listening. It's going to be everyone sharing their unique niche in the world. Experiences, skills, talents, knowledge, all of it. So I want every one of you to think about what that is. What is it that makes you unique, and what is it that would be fun to share with everyone? And I'm also connecting with, you know, I shared the other day that we are going to have a session on astrophysics, because I connected with this professor of physics from Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, who is studying the magnetic field of neutron stars and all that, but she's also into music. So she's a polymath basically. So being a polymath, she's into everything, and I've invited her to, you know, share with us. We had the movie analysis 2 or 3 weeks ago, so we'll do that kind of stuff, but I want all of you to think about that. And one more kind of home play, if I can give all of you, is that we are all artists at heart. We all have that ability to create and compose, because we are Brahma. Aham Brahmasmi. I am that. Whether you know it or not, whether you acknowledge it to yourself or not, whether you believe it or not, you are the creator of your life. And being creators, you are able to create. So one of the sessions coming down the line is going to be on poetry. So poetry, shairi, song. Okay. So I want each one of you between now and that session to write a song or a poem or a shairi before we gather for that session. Okay. So read up about what makes a poem a poem. What is the difference?
Any subject?
Yeah, any subject, whatever you feel like.
Okay.
Any subject, whatever touches your heart. Any subject, not just any subject, any language also. Gujarati, Hindi, Marathi, Tamil, whatever you're comfortable with. Compose, write in that language, and bring it to share with everyone. We'll have, that will be one of our poetry cafes where we all share poems that we have written, that you have written yourself. And I know some of us here are really good at it and will be able to, help us learn the finer aspects of whatever we have composed. And I know all of you can do this. So come back with a poem or a song. Okay? So that's the home play. And astrophysics I think is going to be the next cafe, probably in 2 or 3 weeks. Okay, where we are going to. So one question I have as home play for the astrophysics cafe for next time is, imagine you are living in the 4th or 5th century and you don't have much science, and you look up at the sky and you see this thing which we call the moon. Now you look at this moon and you wonder how big is this thing, and you also wonder how far away it is, and you don't know. You don't know if this is a very, very big object, very, very far away, or a small object closer by. Which one of them is it? You don't know. You don't know how far it is and you don't know how big it is. How would you find out? Knowing what you know in the 5th century, which is what some of the astronomers did in that day. They figured out how far is the moon and how big it is also. So think about that one, and we'll solve this riddle in that next session. Anyone else quickly wants to just share about today, whatever? Anyone?
No.
Raju? Yeah. Unmute yourself. Wait 1 sec.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Raju.
Yeah, understood something from your talks that spirituality and music are intertwined and almost together. So if you have understood music, then you actually trying the first step of understanding how spiritual your soul can be through music. So and actually you did a very good job at actually the journey today was taking us through that in a subconscious way. Yeah, that music should be a part of your life, not because you might like it or start liking it, but if you're a spiritual person, then music is already a part of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Perfect. In fact, out of the 5 senses that we have, sound is considered the highest sense. Between sound, sight, taste, smell and touch, sound is the closest to the divine, because divine is silence and the next closest thing to silence is sound or the word, and the word is of course Om, but that's another story for maybe some other time. But it's not the sight. In fact, the cosmic microwave background radiation, which now scientists are discovering, is nothing but that primordial Om, which is still going on since the beginning of time. So beautiful. Thanks. Yashwant, you wanted to share. Go ahead.
Sir, very nice explanation and correlation of music with spirituality. And after listening to you, I realized that spirituality exists in every aspect of our life. It cannot be limited to only some scriptures or some literatures, but every aspect, even what you can say, whatever work we regard as a low or what you can say,
Menial.
yeah, menial. That also involves spirituality, and there is also aspect that what you can say, due to which the person enjoys that work and continue in that work. Otherwise, if that is boring, he might not have continue or work for 1 or 2 days. But
Perfect.
some work people are doing by generation. They might have got some, what you can say, in legacy or something that they are enjoying, and in that also they are seeking some spirituality. In Maharashtra, Bhakti Parampara, many saints like you can say Ravidas or pottery crowd, Mr. Saint Gora Kumar. All those people enjoy spirituality through their work only. So we can also do in same manner, whatever it may be, whatever kind of work we are doing. So it is fantastic. Today was my first lecture, and I enjoy it a lot. And I will now try to attend each and every session of this cafe. Thanks.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. And you know, you raise a very wonderful share, and I love what you said. And this is exactly why I wanted to start this Discovery Cafe, because I have been a teacher of spirituality per se for many years. I've taught meditation and I've conducted retreats and I've conducted the advanced meditation and Bhav Samadhi and all these really literally spiritual pursuits, directly spiritual. And I said at one point, just last year when we were coming back from Rajkot, Manojji and me were in the airplane together and we were just chatting, and I said, you know what, if we cannot come to spirituality in all the normal aspects of our life, then we have really missed the boat. If we can only be spiritual when we are in bhakti or bhajan, if we can only be spiritual in a temple, if we can only be spiritual in meditation, then we are missing it. I want to be able to share that everything leads to that spirituality. You can start with music and you'll end up in spirituality. You can start with physics to quantum physics and you'll end up in consciousness as the next problem that you have to face. You can start with dance and you'll end up in spiritual. You can start with anything. A movie like the Inception movie we talked about, we went into how oneness is all there is. This universal divine dream is what that Inception movie was about. So everything points to that. And so rather than talking about divine or God in the terms of religion or in spirituality, wouldn't it be a more adventurous and more fun way to experience ourselves and learn about ourselves through all these multiple avenues, poetry, dance, music, whatever. So exactly, that's exactly the purpose of this cafe. Perfect. Anyone else?
Nice.
Yeah, Damini, Azadi Ben.
Yeah, it's really great effort on your part in giving us so much knowledge about all this. And that spirituality and music or any art form is inseparable.
Correct.
Connected all the time.
Correct.
Everything is the same, or art
Yes.
or music or spirituality.
Right.
Everything is the same.
Everything is the same. And Azadi Ben, if I can, I would like to leave you with one more thought, to take one more step ahead of what you just said. What you said is absolutely right, that any form of art will lead you to spirituality.
Yeah.
I want us all to start being with the experience and thinking about not just art, everything, every single thing in our awareness, everything in consciousness, everything in the entire universe. If you follow the thread, if you follow the thread of physics, if you follow the thread of garbage, I'm telling you, if you follow the thread of garbage all the way to what it truly is, you will end up in spirituality. You will end up with the divine. You can take the worst of situations and the best of situations, the worst of people and the best of people. If you are awake, and you all are awake, okay, I am hereby declaring all of you awake people. No more pretending to be asleep. We are awake by the very fact that you know your presence. You are hearing my voice and you know who is hearing. It is not your ear that is hearing, it is not your eardrum, but there is some being that is experiencing all that, and you know it. It's time to stop pretending that you don't know it. You know it. So, and you are all awake, and as awake beings, if with that awakeness you take anything, your relationships, the people in your life, your work, your food, anything, follow it all the way through to what is it really. When you take away the layers of what it is not and you reach what it is, you will be left with nothing but that. And all of it leads to that. So the whole journey here, because we call this not just the Discovery Cafe, but it's the self-discovery cafe. The self-discovery, that through all of this we will end up at self, no matter where we start. Great. So good. With that, on that note, Kokimasi, you want to say something? Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I want to say something.
Go ahead.
I
Bolo,
also.
bolo. Okay.
Sanjay,
Bolo, bolo,
I'm so
Kokimasi.
happy.
Yeah.
Nirav, when you meeting mache, but I am so happy to see your talent and see your બધાને ગ્રુપ ને કોઈ બી ગ્રુપ સાથે you are so involved કે બધા મગજમાં ઉતરી જાય તું જે કહેવા માંગે છે તે, and I'm very happy.
Yeah, and you can be happy and proud. By the way, Kokimasi is
I'm very proud of
my mother's sister. So she's my mausi, my saga mausi. So you
Okay,
can.
Sanjeev, I want to say.
Pratibha Ben, bolo.
Like to share.
But,
Sorry?
your speech is very nice and very profound and deep, and we feel full of enjoyment in our heart, and we also become conscious and alert about our strength.
Our strength and our self. This has met its purpose.
So you
Hiren
are
by
a
anything,
catalyst.
Ajit Mishra.
You are a catalyst to us.
Thank you.
We are proud of you. We are proud
Thank
of
you.
you, Sanjeev.
Thank you.
Catalyst.
Ajit ji or Hiren, anything, or Lakshmi Ma, you want to share something?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sanjeev, when choicelessly you live, it is spirituality. Whether music or this, and from anywhere to anywhere.
Anywhere to anywhere, exactly. Anything and everything leads. All roads lead to Rome, like they say, and Rome is our self, right? All roads lead there. Exactly.
It's
Beautiful.
roaming inside
Lakshmi Ma, by the way, for everyone's understanding, Lakshmi Ma is my initiator. She is the one.
And now you are initiating so many beautiful things.
So, Nagarajan ji. So, Lakshmi Ma initiated me maybe, almost 30 years ago, I guess, into meditation. Yeah, in the 90s, early 90s, yeah. So, and she's an inspiration in my life. I'm very glad to have you as part of this group. Wonderful.
Pleasure is all mine.
Thank you. And Lakshmi Ma, by the way, so Lakshmi Ma is running a school in Vizag, a residential school, a Gurukul, where kids, learning is part of joyous learning rather than attention like most schools do. So, it's an amazing place, just like our other schools in Katar Khadak and Bangalore. But what I wanted to say is that in this group, I would love to invite the senior children, like maybe 8th standard onwards, who would follow along and actually not just follow, but they can also contribute, because having that young energy, which is a completely open mind with like a sponge, they will create much more curiosity and much more learning than without that. So I didn't give you enough time this time, but next time we'll plan it better so that they can all join, and also the Katar Khadak kids.
Yes.
So we can have as many of them join as they can. Nagarajan ji, go ahead.
Sanjeev, I always thought I didn't know anything about music, but if I can sing Happy Birthday to you, you already said I'm halfway towards mastery. So now I need to complete the mastery.
Absolutely. That's it. You said in your intro, the right brain, you want to activate the right brain, and you already have an active right brain. If you can sing Happy Birthday without doing all those fancy calculations of 12th root of 2, that means you have a right brain that is operational. So now it's just a matter of taking it forward. Wonderful.
Can I?
Okay. Yeah. Neha.
Yes.
Neha, go ahead. I think you're on mute. No, I can't hear you.
Now can you hear?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So what I felt after hearing you is our own journey. Like when we are born, so we are born as Bairagi, with minimum. And when we are near to death or when we are dying, we die with abundance, celebration. So that is the lesson which I got from your wonderful cafe.
Wonderful, wonderful. What a lovely insight. What a beautiful insight. Exactly. We start with absolutely nothing, right? We come to this world naked, nothing, no idea, concept, no knowledge, no possessions. And to end up carrying that seed of vairagya all the way through life into abundance and joyfulness and sharing and spreading, and then that is a life worth having lived well. Beautiful. What a lovely insight. Thank you, Neha, for that one.
Want to
Lovely
say a few
insight.
words?
Yeah, Nalini ji, go ahead. And then Ajit bhai.
Yeah, this was a very interesting session. And I don't want to repeat what anyone else has told about spirituality, but I could see the connection between spirituality, mathematics, science, and music. Like it was a beautiful platform, all in one area.
Great.
And I said, even I used to learn music when we were kids, you know, like the typical South Indian Carnatic music. The teacher used-
Absolutely.
and it was in whether we like it or not, that kind of class.
Right.
But these gems which you have presented, it is something different which we did not have an opportunity to know about. And now I'm going to YouTube and look up some of this music and try to
Absolutely.
connect.
Absolutely.
So I
Great,
think that's
great.
a wonderful thing you've started on.
Wonderful. Enjoy it. This is part of, Lakshmi Ma has left, but this is part of the ethos of Rishi Gurukul, that as kids we forget this curiosity, we forget the beauty of learning, and learning music, which is this great beautiful thing, also becomes a chore that is somehow imposed on you by society and by your parents. And believe me, there are lots and lots of people who are just turned off from music just because of this sort of pressure. And so rather than enjoying and growing in it, we turn away from it, which is a shame. And the whole Rishi Gurukul philosophy is to nurture that curiosity, nurture that natural desire to learn and know more, and then present music or present art or present physics or math, because the curiosity to know is there. Great. So that's exactly what the Gurukuls do. Ajit ji, if you can also turn on your video. I don't think we have met before. Ajit Mishra. Go ahead. अगर वीडियो है तो अच्छा रहेगा.
Sanjeev ji, we have met before.
Oh.
There for the last many years.
Oh, of course. I know I didn't see your face. That is why I didn't recognize you.
Yes. We have. I have been very lucky to once or twice share the stage with you. I've been in the field of music. I've been a constantly learning student for the last 20 plus years. And my main reason to attend this session was the level to which you take the music. And I have been very, very lucky, I must say, that I have reached a state of trance in some of the bhajans that you have conducted. And that is my number one reason to be here. Thank you so much for relivening that experience. I must also say that that this session reminded me of what Guruji used to say, that looking at finding things, simplicity and joy in the simplest of things. Maybe somewhere while I've been into music constantly, I've missed that, and now I'm reminded again. Thank you so much, Sanjeev ji, for the session.
Absolutely, totally my pleasure. And yeah, great to have such wonderful souls. I mean, the understanding that you all are sharing is just it tells me that where you guys are also, and that we are indeed a powerful group that can really learn from each other many things. From Geetanjali, lovely session, great insight from music, good night. Okay, great, wonderful. Seish, anything from your side? You are into a lot of things, I know, and I'm sure one of these sessions you are going to lead, or not just one but maybe more. So please start thinking along those lines, because you are a multi-talented multifaceted person in the little that I've reconnected with you on.
So thank you, Sanjeev. So both saras. So when I decided to join, I didn't know what to expect. But lo and behold, you made it so minutes and then drop off, but you had me spellbound right from the get-go. And some of the topics you touched on, was I was not aware of myself. But when you especially brought up the connection between music and spirituality, that I'm totally 100% in agreement with you. And with some of the other points also that you made, that it's not just music, but anything that you do in our lives, anything one does can be made a spiritual experience, because after all, spirituality is what? Connecting with God. And you can even cook, you can be sweeping the floors, you could be doing anything, right? And that could be when you're performing that activity. Gita says, Ishvara Arpana Buddhi and Ishvara Prasada Buddhi, right? So whatever you do, whether you're sweeping the floors, cooking a meal, singing a song or a dance, if you dedicate it, say, oh Lord, I'm doing this for you, for your pleasure, that is Ishvara Arpana Buddhi. It becomes a spiritual experience. And
Absolutely.
if you're
What you
and if
receive
you're
as a result also.
Ishwar, it could be brickbats, whatever comes back.
Whatever
If you
comes back, yeah, is
if you
also
learn
prasad.
that to, that is spiritual. That is karma yoga in a nutshell for you, that Sri
Perfect.
Krishna is described
Perfect. Perfect.
in Bhagavad Gita. So
Perfect.
you touched on all these points so well. I'm really thankful for you to have me connected with you and this great group. I look forward to the future calls.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Great,
Thanks.
great, awesome. Love you all. Thank you, thank you, thank you
Chalo,
for
thank you,
providing
thank
this
you.
platform. And
Bye. Good night,
Jai Gurudev.
everyone.
Thank you, thank you. Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Bye, bye, bye.
Bye.
Bye. Good night.
Bye. Good night.
Bye. Good night.
Shashi.